Yes, yes, yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Kenobi live every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I am, of course, your host, Dan Z. Happy to share another Monday night with all of you, talking some Star Wars. I know you've got your top 5 ready tonight. We're going to look at our top 5 favorite red lightsaber wielders. We're going to get into the nuance and the specifics of that very, very soon. Again, I'm your host, Dan Z. Excited to be with you. What's been going on, everybody? How's the week been? We've got all of our people here. We've got LJ. Hello, LJ. Good to see you. Minta says it's CWK day. It sure is. Tyler says I'm about to use a red lightsaber on the Cardinals. Tyler, I think we're going to need it, man. Cubbies are having a hard time getting those guys in after we get the bases on. So we'll see. We will see. Got a lot of Cardinal fans in my household, so I need all the help I can get. Jim says, good evening. All ready for another fun top 5? Of course. Somebody named Coffee with Kenobi says punch it. I don't know what that's about. And then Mary Purdue says happy Monday, everyone. Mary, good to have you here, of course. Chris Big says, just what I needed after a crummy day. How relaxing. You bet. Happy to have you. And Blake Weaver, hey. Blake Weaver is going to be one of our guests on Coffee with Kenobi this week. So that is very exciting, of course. I was the 20th CWK Alliance hat, by the way. Wow, nice. Speaking of that, thank you, LJ. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting our CWK Alliance. We've got something going. It's a custom ink thing. It's to get that amazing logo, which I'll plop up here for you. It's the CWK Alliance, which is, of course, what we have re-tagged our Patreon page. And we are sort of commemorating that with a fundraiser we're doing where we got to make at least 20 hat orders. And it literally looks just like this. It's a CWK Alliance. It's in the black trucker hat style. So thank you so much, everybody who has already purchased a hat or is considering getting one and have asked me about it. It's so great, and all of it goes and helps kind of keep things going here at Coffee with Kenobi, offset some of the costs that we have for running the show on Facebook Live and all that great stuff. And it is so nice. It is so nice. So we're very, very happy to have that support. I can't wait to sport these hats. They're really, really sharp. So thank you so much to all of you. Anika, hello. Good to see you. I like your avatar. LJ says, you know me, I had to wait until I could hit the game-winning shot. There you go. Just like Michael Jordan would have done it, of course. So what's going on in the world of Star Wars this week, everybody? What kind of stuff do you have on your mind? It's an interesting week for me. We started school, going back to school. I'm starting my 15th year in education. I teach high school seniors. And I'm excited about it. We don't get students till about Thursday, but there's a lot of prep that goes into this unique year, and I'm ready. I got to say, I'm legitimately excited about the challenges. I find myself getting a little bit restless if I do the same thing over and over again in the classroom, so I like to reinvent myself, and I'm very excited that I get this challenge of getting to sort of look at education in a different way, whether it's remote or whether it's in the classroom with some of my students. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the challenge. We'll definitely keep all of you posted on that. So what about all of you? What's going on? Anybody been listening to any Star Wars books on audio, or have you been reading anything? I know we had our George Mann interview this week on Coffee with Kenobi, which was great fun. George is a cool guy, and he, of course, he took sort of a Star Wars horror spin on things, and it was great. We had a great time talking with him and kind of seeing what motivated him to write this book. And he talks a lot about folklore and how he was influenced by Hammer horror films and classic horror and things like that. So it's great fun. I highly recommend that you check that out. It's this week's Coffee with Kenobi podcast. Daniel says they're starting the 18th of September. Wow, so you get a little bit more summer for sure, which is great, which is absolutely great. So I think it's time. Let's just jump right in to our top 5, shall we? This, of course, the top 5 this week. I need some kind of a clever little video for a top 5. But this week's top 5 is top 5 favorite red lightsaber wielders. Now, why? Oh, here we go. Tom says the Dr. Aphra audiobook was fantastic. And I agree, Tom. It's really, really good. It's really good. It very much takes you behind the scenes of Aphra and what makes her tick. Again, explores the Kieran Gillen series that was out in 2015 and 16. But it takes it quite a bit further into the psychology of what makes her tick, so that's really good. Blake says he's been listening to the original trilogy soundtrack this week. Well, that's interesting. Very ironic, as you'll see. Mary says started Freefall this week, like it so far. Oh, that's good. That's very, very good. Interesting. I'm actually taking a temporary hiatus from reading Star Wars books, and I'm reading part one of the Dresden Files at the recommendation of Corey Clubb, of course, who talked to us about this on our CWK pour-over, where we just did our top 15 favorite fictional characters, and this character was his number 2, actually. But that is, of course, if you are a member of the CWK Alliance, which is our Patreon page, you get access to CWK Pour, which is our exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's myself, Tom Gross, our CWK newsman, and our co-creator, Corey Clubb, and we have the best time talking about all kinds of things. Popular culture, behind the scenes of Coffee with Kenobi, all that great stuff. So, again, why not just top 5? Well, Tyler's a good plug. He says everyone should. Well, Tyler, I agree. I'm a little biased, but thank you very much for that. And I appreciate your support and always letting me know your top 5s and ways. And that's another great thing about our CWK Alliances. We're doing our top 5s of whatever they are. Everyone else can send theirs in, and we share them on the air as well. Minta says, my nephew and I have been rewatching Clone Wars. I've been watching Hamilton each week. Oh, nice. Hamilton is, of course, great stuff. Great choice, Minta, of course. LJ says, been on a Star Wars sabbatical, went hard into some World War I podcasts and books. Back to reading soon. Well, that's good. You know, man does not live on Star Wars alone, so I highly encourage that, LJ. I think that's good. That variety is the spice of life, you know. So Tyler says, everyone should join the Alliance. Well worth it. Thank you, Tyler. And Tyler's, of course, a very loyal member of the CWK Alliance, and we certainly appreciate that. So again, why not just favorite Sith or favorite red Sith lightsaber wielders or whatever? Well, because there's a lot of great red lightsaber wielders in the world of Star Wars that are not Sith. So what does that mean exactly? So there's only 2 Sith at a time, as we learned in The Phantom Menace. It's always a master and an apprentice. And so if they ever go away, then there are no Sith to sort of take that mantle. So, which is why after Return of the Jedi, everyone thought the Sith were extinct because the Emperor and Vader were gone. Kylo Ren, of course, sort of takes on the mantle, but he's not a Sith because he doesn't have a Sith master. Snoke is not a Sith master. All that good stuff. But there are a lot of cool characters in the world of Star Wars that have wielded red lightsabers that are not Sith. So I wanted to include everybody in that. Oh, the Grant memoir. Did you know, Daniel, that Mark Twain, my favorite author of all time, inspired Ulysses S. Grant to write his memoirs? There's actually a great book just about the two of them and their friendship. So I highly recommend that you check that out. I think it's called Grant and Twain or something not very original as far as titles go, but it's really, really worth your time. All right, let's do this. Our top 5 favorite red lightsaber wielders. My number 5 is the Grand Inquisitor. So the Grand Inquisitor has this great look about him. He looks very vampiric, as George Mann talked about this week on Coffee with Kenobi. He's got a red lightsaber that automatically spins. It's a double-bladed lightsaber that automatically spins if he wants it to. So he doesn't have to actually twirl his wrist, and it will spin like that. Does anyone know why the Grand Inquisitor or any of the Inquisitors do it that way? Jim says, my number 5 is also the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels. Jason Isaacs really knocked that vocal performance out of the park. He's such an intelligent and intimidating villain. Totally agree. Minta says, Barriss Offee. She wasn't truly a Sith, but she was losing herself to the darkness because of her conflicting views on the Clone Wars. Yeah, she's a complicated character. And Minta, I'm glad you brought up Barriss. She is a good one for sure. She only uses her red lightsaber, I think, once before she gets arrested. But there's this great epic duel with her and Ahsoka and Anakin towards the end of season 5 of the Clone Wars. So that is a good choice as well. All right. Daniel says, pretty rad blade. It very much is a really, really, really cool blade. Palpatine, number 5 for Blake. Seeing him wield his saber in episode 3 showed me not only was he deadly with the Force, but also with his combat skills. Very true. Mary says Vader, of course. Enough said. I mean, it's Darth Vader, right? LJ says Kylo Ren is arguably the coolest lightsaber in the saga and a great character arc in the sequel trilogy. Yes, and I do think that he maybe has the coolest lightsaber for sure in the entire thing. So that's good. Mason made a list. His number 5 is the 5th brother, keeping with the Inquisitor theme, but he picked the 5th brother. He thinks he's really cool. Of course, he has a similar blade, but no one has said yet, do you know why the Grand Inquisitor has that kind of a lightsaber that has the option of spinning on its own accord? I'll give you a second to kind of think about that. While Tyler says, Darth Maul, the double blade, is awesome, but he's also a very intimidating warrior. Yes, he is. He certainly is. He's very cool, and of course voiced by Jason Isaacs, who's pretty great as well. Okay, so the reason that the Grand Inquisitor or any of the Inquisitors have lightsabers that spin like that is because they're not true Sith. They're not fully trained in the Jedi or in the Sith arts. So they've got a ways to go. I mean, for an Inquisitor to legitimately take down a Jedi, they need an advantage. So that is why their lightsabers function and work the way that they do. Because to just use a red lightsaber against a typical Jedi on their own as they're helping with the Jedi Purge, they couldn't do it. So this isn't sort of a thing that they use. To me, it's cheating, but it does make sense why they would have it that way. It also legitimizes that being a Sith is a big deal because not anybody can do it. You can have a red lightsaber, but not anybody can do it. Okay, my number 5, Grand Inquisitor. Like I said, Mason's is the 5th brother. Cato says, my number 5 is Anakin picking up the red saber in the micro series on Cartoon Network. Ooh, that's good. Very good. And that's also very much an ominous, very much a foreshadowing of what Anakin is going to become. Okay, that was number 5. Let's go to number 4. My number 4, Darth Sidious. So, I guess this is as good a time as any to explain how did you pick your list, Dan? Well, to me, I try to take a number of factors. I guess impact on the saga, perhaps. If that's true, then Darth Sidious should probably be much higher. But to me, it's more like cool factor combined with how powerful their lightsaber hilt is, how cool it looks, cinematically, how that lightsaber plays. It's, I guess those all kind of go into there, and just sort of how I feel when I see them ignite their blades in Rebels, in Clone Wars, in a comic book, in a novel, or in the films themselves, and kind of the cool factor that how it impacts me. Okay, we've got a lot of new ones coming here, which is wonderful. Let's get to that. Jim Capron's number 4 is Darth Maul, and my favorite iteration of him would be in the Clone Wars. I would agree with that. He is coolest in the Clone Wars. Minta says, Quinlan Vos on the Legends collection. He was working as a double agent with the Jedi, and Count Dooku. He definitely toes the line of darkness and light. I agree, and I think Dark Disciple very much continues that from the Legends line into the canonical Star Wars universe. So that's a great call, Minta. Tyler says, Darth Nihilus, not going to lie, I don't know much about the actual character, but man, he sure looks cool. I can't think of a more haunting looking design. No, I certainly can't argue with that either. Blake says, Grand Inquisitor, no one else's saber turned them into a helicopter. Well, that's true. Although I think it was like the 7th brother or from the episode Twilight of the Apprentice, or no, the episode before Twilight of the Apprentice, the second to last episode in season 2 where someone actually uses it as a helicopter. Jose says, yeah, I'm still unsure about why Inquisitors are needed and how their roles differ from the Sith. Well, Jose, that's great. As I said a little bit ago, basically, there are only going to be 2 Sith. Palpatine is going to let there be more because there's too much infighting with the Sith. They're too power hungry, so they can't trust each other. So they only have 2 at a time to pass on the legacy. But Darth Vader acquires a number of Inquisitors to help him hunt down the Jedi, because Darth Vader is, of course, the ultimate, but he's still one person. He can't do it alone. So he hires the Inquisitors, who aren't as good as a Sith or a Jedi, but there are so many of them, and they don't really operate under any sort of rules or protocol. So I think that's why we have them. Mary says, Dooku with his lightsaber in his hand, yeah, he's pretty cool. LJ's number 4 is Count Dooku. I love the curved hilt and his fencing style lightsaber combat. Kata says, I love Sidious and his weird corkscrew more when he takes on the Jedi Masters. He's a solid 4. Indeed he is. Mason's number 4 is Savage Opress. Savage Opress, another red lightsaber wielder, but it's double-bladed. He doesn't have what the Inquisitors have, but he's very forceful. He very much operates that lightsaber from a place of brutality and strength. And he certainly is a striking one. A very cool action figure, too, by the way. So Mason's number 4 is Savage Opress. So let's move in to our number 3. My number 3, Count Dooku. It's tricky because when a lot of you bring up some of these characters, I'm like, ooh, and I want to say something, but I don't, because I want to try to save. And I like seeing what all of you write down, of course. But Count Dooku, for the reasons that a lot of you said, LJ and Mary. And let's see who else talked about Dooku. I think that's it. Oh, Minta. No, Minta's a Quinlan Vos. Count Dooku, he's very elegant. Christopher Lee, of course, elevates anything. That curved hilt is very unique and very, very striking. It very much it carries itself the way Dooku does. Very regal, very sophisticated. He's definitely got an overinflated opinion of himself. But he's definitely a different class of Sith Lord. He's the best groomed of all of the Sith. That sounds so silly. But he's just more elegant and kind of comes from a different world. And if you've ever gone and listened to the audiobook of Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see what other people have here. Jim's number 3 is Ventress. I really like her wit and fiery personality, and she has a really great character arc in the Clone Wars and Dark Disciples. She really does. Mary says, 7th sister, Inquisitors, some reasons others have mentioned. Absolutely. Minta says, Savage Opress only had a few brief episodes, but he still had raw power, and he was almost more powerful than Maul. Yeah, I could certainly see that as well. Tyler says, Xanatos, Qui-Gon's corrupt apprentice. He reminds me of the Star Wars version of Jason Todd. Well, that is a great comparison, Tyler. I like that. I really like that. That's a cool one. LJ says, Dooku reminded me of a medieval knight. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. But LJ's number 3 is Maul. Seeing him ignite his double blade in the Phantom Menace trailer still gives me chills. Yeah, one of the ultimate moments in any trailer. Kato says, I was just looking up spelling Savage Opress for 3. He has such a profound story arc in Clone Wars. Watching how he turned into a Force user was tragic. Yeah, it really was. Blake's number 3, Kylo Ren. The way his saber reflected his personality added so much to it. Oh, very much agree with that. Mason's number 3 is the same as my number 5. Mason's number 3 is the Grand Inquisitor. Again, an extremely cool figure with that awesome, striking visage. He's intimidating and frightening, but also a bit of interesting backstory. The fact that he used to be a Jedi, and of course he ends up in Kanan's Jedi trial, which is pretty great as well. Okay, that's number 3. Anybody else have a number 3 they want to chime in on before we move on to the next topic? Okay, no problem. Let's go ahead and move on to, not the next topic, but the next one. Number 2 on my list of top 5 favorite red lightsaber wielders, Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, again, I wasn't the biggest fan, per se, of the character until The Rise of Skywalker. But I always liked the look. I mean, you can't argue with the look. That incredible mask, the hood, that lightsaber with the cross guard that is very medieval. I'll never forget during Black Friday when that trailer came out for The Force Awakens, and all we saw was him from the back, and he ignites his lightsaber, and you just thought, wow, what a striking, powerful pose. Kylo Ren is definitely unique and very, very cool looking. I guess I'm gauging this more on the overall appearance, and that lightsaber is tough to beat, as everybody's been saying. All right, and Blake, I think, we already mentioned Kylo Ren and his lightsaber reflecting his personality, certainly. Jim's number 2 is Komori Vosa from Star Wars The Bounty Hunters video game. She was essentially Ventress before there was a Ventress, but I really liked her ruthless personality and gothic look. Another great deep cut. Tyler's number 2, Darth Vader. The hallway scene in Rogue One is more than enough to show you how epic he is. That is for certain. Mary says Maul, especially Clone Wars Season 7. Yeah, for sure. Also, Minta says Maul, master of the double-sided lightsaber, even though he was half a Sith. Oh, too soon. Couldn't resist, she says. And then following up on that, Blake says Darth Maul, that double-bladed lightsaber blew my 10-year-old mind in 1999. That's right. Careful, Blake. Now we know how old you are. All right. Let's see. Mason's number 2, Darth Vader. I mean, he didn't really go much in that, but I'm pretty sure that I know why Mason likes Darth Vader. The main reason a lot of us like Darth Vader. He's just the ultimate, right? He's the original. So that is Mason's number 2. LJ's number 2 is Ventress, the double curved lightsaber that was attached as an inspired design. Plus, she is probably my favorite character in the Clone Wars. I loved her duel with Luminara. That's a great one. Well, it's a Force Vision, Rey snapping that weird rotating hilt that turns out represents the dyad. Yeah, no one's brought that up yet, and it almost made my list, and I can't believe I didn't put Asajj Ventress on my list either. But I will never forget, I was at the D23 Expo. I was in the room where they were doing all the big reveals, and they showed that it wasn't really a trailer, but just sort of a sneak preview of The Rise of Skywalker. And when they showed Dark Rey turning on that double-bladed lightsaber that spun like that, I yelled out, no, oh no! It was just so powerful because we thought, oh no, is she going to turn bad? But I couldn't imagine J.J. Abrams was going to let a big reveal like that sneak out through a trailer. And it didn't, but it's still pretty striking, pretty powerful stuff. Again, all these, in our examples and how we're explaining them, clearly show there's a lot of power here in these characters and their designs, and sort of basically the cool factor in how they sort of take our breath away when they appear. Which leads to number 1. Speaking of taking your breath away, it was hard to find the perfect picture for this guy. But Darth Vader. Of course, for me, it's Darth Vader. He's one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, as you know if you've listened to CWK pour over in our top 15 favorite fictional characters. But I picked this image specifically for reasons that others have mentioned. It's that scene at the end of Rogue One that almost wasn't in the film, but they kind of came up with it towards the last end of the movie. And, LJ says, Vader, it's Vader, no explanation needed. Exactly. He's just so powerful, so striking. He means business, and really probably the coolest costume in history, in my opinion. Minto also says, Vader, what else is there to say? Jim says, my number 1 is the second sister from Jedi Fallen Order. The way she plays mind games with her opponents is fascinating, but my favorite aspect of her is her intense but cunning and chilling personality. Number 1 for Tyler is Kylo Ren, my favorite character from the sequel trilogy. I love his erratic fighting style and the internal conflict throughout all the movies. Great. I love it. Daniel's Vader is number 1 for sure. There you go, Daniel. Mary's number 1 is Kylo Ren. His lightsaber is unstoppable, and his power as he is throughout the arc. Well said, Mary. I like that. Very good. Blake also says Vader, the most iconic movie baddie of all time. And sorry, I keep looking down. Unfortunately, my phone buzzes whenever there's an update on the Cubs, and they're playing, of course, the Cardinals tonight, and it's not looking so well. So we need a miracle. Come on, let's use our force powers and make the Cubs get some hits. All right, okay, back to Star Wars. Where that gets Ross, I was looking forward to his deep cuts. Yeah, where is Ross? Ross Halliburton, where are you, my friend? We need your top 5s for sure. You are missed. But again, if you do happen to miss this or can't watch the entire one, it's always available on Facebook, on facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi or www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live. And you can find it on Instagram and on our YouTube channel, which I hope you subscribe to, by the way. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. When we get to that, I can do a lot more stuff and customize stuff. That would be great. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. And be sure to follow us on Instagram as well. All that good stuff. All of our social media stuff. Mason's number 1 is Darth Maul. He loves Darth Maul. It's his second favorite character in the entire Star Wars saga. I mean, Darth Maul is epic. He's cool for a lot of the reasons people mentioned already. And of course, the Phantom Menace, he's unforgettable. Duel of the Fates, right? Kato says, number 1 for me is Kylo, that red lightsaber. That lightsaber with its ragged blade and how he wants to be Vader, it blinds him. The sound it makes is amazing. Probably my favorite. Well, one of my favorite sounds. Ezra's first lightsaber, that sound is pretty great too. But yeah, I've said this many times, but I love the fact that Kylo Ren's lightsaber growls, reflecting the anger and inner conflict that is within himself. It's literary. It's great. It's so great. All right, anybody else want to weigh in on their top? It's pretty great stuff. Top 5 red lightsaber wielders. I knew we'd have fun with this one. We pretty much have mentioned, I don't think there's a single red lightsaber wielder that no one has mentioned yet. Although no one has mentioned Seven's sister, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. No one's mentioned her yet, but she is cool. I think too, she had a very unique mask, to be certain. All right, so that's it. Our top 5 favorite red lightsaber wielders. If you want to join us next week, be sure to get ready for your next top 5. It's going to be top 5 Star Wars soundtracks. Now, this is not individualized songs, right? This isn't, oh, my favorite is the Imperial March or my favorite is Duel of the Fates. But you can certainly pick one of the films where that song first appeared and put that in your top 5 Star Wars soundtracks. Now, Star Wars soundtracks, there are how many? 11, because there are 11 films. I guess you could put Clone Wars and Rebels. Sure, why not? Or if you want to pick a soundtrack from one of the video games, I'd be good with that as well. But next week is going to be top 5 Star Wars soundtracks. The soundtrack as a whole. And yes, LG, I know it's going to be impossible. That's kind of part of the fun. It's going to be hard for me too. Terry is feeling our pain. He says, no fair, top 5 soundtracks is like choosing your favorite kid. It is going to be a top 5, but that's okay. We're up for the challenge. We are certainly up for the challenge for sure. All right, I love it. So that's what's going to be next week. There are so many. There's 11 to choose from, and it's going to be challenging. But that's only the movies. You've also got the Clone Wars and Rebels, and some of the video games. And you can even pick stuff like, some people might pick the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack if they went to back from the mid-90s. That's fine. And you've got a week to prepare, so that's good. All right, so LJ is happy, or Colby's happy. He's got a good feeling about this. Well, good, Colby. Maybe that tells me you probably already know what your number one is. You can tell school's back in session. Dan is assigning tough homework. You're right. Oh, it's only going to get worse too, my friend. I love it. All right. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk about, Cato says soundtracks are his favorite thing, which is great. I want to talk about Star Wars video games. So Tom's already got his top 5 for soundtracks, which is cool. Does Max Rego have a solo album? Well, if he did, of course it would be in the top 5. But don't worry, someday we'll do individual songs. I think that will be fun too. We might even do like top 5 songs from The Empire Strikes Back, or top 5 songs from Return of the Jedi, or whatever. That would be good too. We'll see. We'll be seeing kind of where we go. I mean, eventually we might run out of top 5s on Facebook Live, but I doubt it. It's so much fun to do. All right, let's talk about Star Wars video games, okay? Over the years, Star Wars video games have certainly grown as the industry has grown. I'll never forget the first Star Wars video game. Well, there were a couple of sort of firsts, I guess. But, yeah, Blake is all over this. Someone say video games. Anyone know the very first Star Wars video game? Off the top of my head, I'm thinking it's The Empire Strikes Back Atari 2600 video game where you were a small little snow speeder and you had to take down AT-ATs and basically just shot them a million times from far away and they would shoot at you, and you didn't use harpoons and tow cables. There was no cool John Williams music, and the sound effects weren't from the films, but we didn't know the difference because that was one of the first Star Wars video games. I think it was the first one. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure that I am. And it was just so cool to have a Star Wars video game to play at home. In fact, Atari had this thing where you could kind of computer program and design your own games, and I always thought it would be cool to get that and to make a Star Wars video game. But of course I didn't know coding, especially 2600 Atari coding. But Tom says, yeah, that's the first one he knows, the first one that he played. And I trust Tom. He's a smart guy. So I think that's what we're going to go with. And then we had, well, they had, you remember Atari had those paddles. You like held it and then you rotate this little circle. And it was a Star Wars lightsaber duel game where you just move your lightsaber blade back and forth, and there would be that little training spherical object in the middle. And that was fun too. Again, it didn't use the sound effects or anything like that, but it was still fun. We still had a great time with it. Terry says the first couple of years of Star Wars Galaxies is my all-time favorite. That's a good one. Kato says I have a one-person 8-minute performance called Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's a monologue through while playing my Star Wars record. Well, Kato, if you want to put that on the list for next week, you certainly can do so, for sure. All right, so the next big Star Wars video game that I remember, well, was an arcade. Minta says the only Star Wars game I played is Revenge of the Sith after the movie debuted. Good Lord, I feel old. You're not old. You're not old. It just means that you've lived a really good life and you've had a lot of cool things happen. That's the way I'm looking at it. I mean, I am talking about Atari 2600, which that's like early 80s situation. That's all right. So then in the arcade, we had the Star Wars arcade game, which now you can get a home version of it someday, Dean. I think we should do that. I'm just saying. But you blew up the Death Star, and you had like the joystick was just basically like the controls of the X-Wing, and it was just great. You just go around and you shoot TIE fighters, and you eventually go into the trenches, and you get to blow up the Death Star over and over again. And I'd always heard that Rancho Obi-Wan has this arcade, and they do, and I've played there a number of times. And I was such a goal of mine to blow up the Death Star at Rancho Obi-Wan, and when I did that, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It was just fun. And then they had a Return of the Jedi arcade cabinet game where you got to pilot or drive a speeder bike through different Ewok traps. And then as Lando Calrissian, it always started out with a digitized version of Billy D. Williams going, here goes nothing. And you go in and blow up that Death Star. So fun. Then they had another great Star Wars video game. Maybe we should just do top 5 Star Wars video games. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. Kato says he's working on buying one of those reproductions of a Star Wars game cabinet like in the arcades. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be so cool, man. Blake says Star Wars Galaxies was the best Star Wars game ever made. Tyler says I have the New Hope and Empire Strikes Back games for the original Game Boy. Never beat them, but always had fun time trying. And Tom remembers the pinball games at Rancho Obi-Wan are so awesome. That's right. Tom went with me to Rancho Obi-Wan. When did we go, Tom? We go in 2017, maybe? I think that's right. Yeah. That was a blast. That was an absolute blast. Blake remembers hogging the Star Wars arcade games at Disney Quest in downtown Disney as a kid. Oh, yeah, I do too. Maybe you took my spot, Blake. It's possible that you might have. Terry says the Jedi Knight series on PC and the Knights of the Old Republic. Spent many hours mastering these. Ooh, those are good. I never played those. I know, of course, Knights of the Old Republic is such a big one. When Nintendo had Super Star Wars, Super The Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi, those were a big deal because as far as I can remember, that was the first time where all of the video games had the real sound effects and the real John Williams music directly from the films, and that had never happened in video games, and people were really blown away by that. They thought that was the best, and it was the best. It was super, super fun to do. But it looks like we've been talking for about a half hour, which is great, and we're not done yet, don't worry, but I just want to remind everybody that I'm DNZ, the host of Coffee with Kenobi. Thrilled to bring Facebook Live to you each and every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, where we talk Star Wars every week. We talk about our top fives. I really want to make this interactive. When we created Coffee with Kenobi, the big goal for Corey and I was to create a place where you have a voice, where you have a place where you can share your Star Wars comments, questions, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place, and that's what Coffee with Kenobi is all about. So hopefully you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi each and every week, wherever you find podcasts, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, literally anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Coffee with Kenobi. The conversation never stops. It just continues to change and grow, as does what happens here on Facebook Live every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Keta says there was one arcade that had the full-size Star Wars Trench game. We actually climbed into it, and there was a seat in the control yoke. It was fantastic. It was. And Kato, I'm pretty sure you can get a home version of that one as well. I mean, it's smaller, but still the same stuff, still the same controller. Really, really super fun. I also loved when the original PlayStation was out and the Phantom Menace had a video game. I was really taken by that because you got to be Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. You got to go through Naboo at the beginning of the movie, and it had the same sound effects and the music, just like is now standard commonplace in Star Wars. But it really brought the movie to life in a really, really fun way. And it was challenging. It wasn't completely linear, but it was sort of open world, and it was a blast. I had the most fun with that. And of course, especially since my son Mason is watching, hey buddy, I have to mention Battlefront. No one's mentioned Battlefront yet, but the latest version of Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS4, we've had a lot of fun playing that, and I'm not ashamed to say that my son Mason, who is 7, beats me almost every time. His favorite thing to do is to play in Naboo, in the Naboo hangar, and we turn it on so you can be any character, and he uses the Force and always does quite a powerful job of taking care of business. And yeah, if you're going to play Star Wars Battlefront 2, don't play Mason because he'll probably beat you. LJ says, can we agree that Masters of Terras Kasi was the worst Star Wars game? You know what? I don't know if I can agree with that because I love that. I thought it was fun. It was sort of like Mortal Kombat-ish, but it had some great backgrounds for sure. And it was just fun. I got a kick out of it. I mean, overall, it's the best game ever. No, but I wouldn't say it was the worst. I had fun with it. Blake says the Phantom Menace game was awesome. He remembers that too. Battlefront 2 is a very underrated game. I agree. It's exceptional. Minta says I actually did play the Star Wars game at Dave & Buster's a few years ago. It was fun and completely immersive. That's the one where you sit like in that Star Wars battle pod. That one is very immersive. It's almost overwhelming. It's very powerful. Tyler says his favorite Star Wars game was 2005 Battlefront 2. I logged so many hours in that game playing against my friends. One of the very few games I can actually hold my own. Yeah, that's cool. Terry says, I forgot about the stand-up arcade game with laser graphics instead of 8-bit. Hearing Obi-Wan say, use the Force was magical in the 80s. Oh, that was the best. That was the best. Jim says, Bounty Hunter was definitely the game I played the most. It's a super fun game, but also a fantastic story of how Jango was recruited by the Clone Army. You know what? I didn't know that. I did not know that. Hey, Adam. Adam, we are having a great evening. We're reminiscing on basically our favorite Star Wars video games, and over the years, the memories we've had with those. Adam hosts the From a Certain Point of View podcast, and he's a great guy, and his podcast is really super fun as well. Tom says, original Battlefront 1 2 are the best ever. I kept my PlayStation 2 just to play this. Well, that's fun. I love that. I feel like there's another Star Wars game I'm missing. I mean, of course, we've got newer versions of Star Wars. Jedi Fallen Order, which again I still have to accomplish. And summer's pretty much over for me now, but we'll figure it out. I really want to play it. Online Clone Wars RPG, great Avatar, and it was amazing. Even that BB-8 game. That, let's see, I'm gonna try to find it on my phone right now. But it's something you can find on the app. It's you can, I don't know if you can tell, but this is my Star Wars section. But Star Wars Puzzles, right there. Sorry, that's terrible lighting and angle. But the Star Wars puzzle game is sort of like Star Wars Tetris. I've certainly gotten lost in that plenty of times. It's a very fun game too. But Star Wars, again, one of the great things about Star Wars is that over the years, over the 42-year history of the saga, or 43-year history of the saga, it has reinvented itself no matter what medium you use. It's just great fun. It's just great fun to experience. And we love this world, this mythology, so it's fun to revisit it in any way that we can. Adam says, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast was my favorite for years, but I also remember playing it on Switch as an age developer. Rogue Squadron was a big time sink in my teenage years. And what about the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter games for the PC? That was pretty much the only game in town in the mid-90s until the Timothy Zahn novels, and that was fun too. And Adam, you are welcome, my friend. I meant every word of it. LJ says, I can't get into Fallen Order. I can't hold my attention. I'm really looking forward to Squadron. So I'm not as looking forward to Squadron because I'm not a big like pilot game sort of a guy, but it does look cool and the graphics are cool, and if the story's great, then I'm all about it. The Lego games. Mason, I love playing the Star Wars video games. Those are so much fun. Man, what a good call. I can't believe it. Again, there's so many for all ages and all different sort of disciplines. There's so many fun things. Chris brings up the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games for the PC from the late 90s. Now on occasion, I'll play the Star Wars Lego games as well as Disney Infinity. Disney Infinity, another great one we've enjoyed at the Zara household. The Star Wars characters in that are fun. And we recently leveled up Ahsoka, and she's really powerful in that game too. LJ says, good call, Taylor. I forgot all about the Lego games. Yeah, those are fun. And the new one's coming out, I believe, in October. It's going to go over all the Skywalker saga stories and in Lego form. It's going to be completely different from the existing Star Wars Lego games that we've already played. Mason, I've also played the Force Awakens Lego game recently. And that's fun. You can go all over and you use your radar and you can find carbonite and you get it and you go back to the base, the resistance base on the car, and then you unlock different characters from the films, and they're so fun. Kato says, those Lego games were something I played with my nephews for sure. Oh yeah. Tom loves Lego games. Adam says the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, he didn't play much. He bought them on Steam for PC and want to give it a go. I also have to mention Episode 1 Racer on Nintendo 64. I played that a ton. Oh yeah, that was a blast. I thought I was supposed to play that recently, and I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more. Very good. Well, that was fun. That was super fun to kind of reminisce about Star Wars video games. If you ever have something that you want to talk about or look at on a Facebook Live after we do our top fives, let me know. We did this, we did Rebels, we've done some trivia stuff. So anything you guys want, let me know. And with a little bit of time and prep, we're going to make it happen for sure. Speaking of time and prep, a lot of time and prep. Here's the transition. Into the creation of the Star Wars book, my first book. I had the good pleasure and honor of writing it with Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton. It comes out October 20th. I had some teachers asking me about that today. It's going to be a fun one. Man, we're going to have so much to talk about when this game comes out, when this book comes out. If you like this or you like Coffee with Kenobi and you've enjoyed sort of everything that I do on Facebook Live, be sure to go and consider being a member of the CWK Alliance, because as a member of the CWK Alliance, you get to support Coffee with Kenobi in a lot of different ways. You get some exclusive merchandise in some occasions. You certainly get access to CWK Pro, which is our exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. Myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Club have the best time doing those. And if you want to continue the conversation, typically after this or throughout the week, go to CWK Cafe, which is our exclusive Facebook group at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community. And that is a great place for you to go to continue the Star Wars conversation. Just like everything Coffee with Kenobi, it is family friendly, spoiler free, and we always have the best time. I think it's time, however, to ask Dan Z. I'll go get him. All right, so if you have any comments or questions about the world of Star Wars, about tonight's show, about the podcast, if you have a suggestion for a guest that you'd like to see me interview or talk with, or if you have a certain question you've always wanted to ask a certain author or someone from the world of Star Wars, hey, let me know. Definitely let me know. LJ supporting us. Join the Alliance already. Thank you so much. And Mary says, have a great week, everyone. Good luck to everyone starting back to school. Well, thank you, Mary. And thank you for being a recent member of the CWK Alliance. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your retirement and years of teaching. I'm sure your students will greatly miss you. Chris says, for a while there was a phone game called Tiny Death Star, similar to Tiny Tower. Oh, I remember that. And I think Tom Gross was really into that. That thing, I think, was really kind of hooked people in. That was like a really, really big one, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. Interesting. Anybody else have any questions about the world of Star Wars? This week on our podcast, Blake says, what's your favorite Star Wars movie poster? Well, the one behind me is certainly one of my favorites, the original art for the original A New Hope, but I really like the teaser posters. The teaser poster for The Empire Strikes Back is great. The film poster of The Empire Strikes Back, the A sheet, is good because it's like that, got that Gone with the Wind style. I absolutely love the teaser poster for The Last Jedi and for The Rise of Skywalker. I think those are phenomenal for sure. And Mercy says, LG, I did join this weekend. She sure did, which is so awesome. Yeah, being a member of the CWK Alliance is great. We've got this wonderful community of people. We've got some exclusive things going on. So fun. Maybe we could do, Kato says, I could talk for a day about posters. Maybe we should do a top 5 favorite Star Wars posters at some point. Boy, that you'd have to be really specific. There's a Star Wars poster book that it's this huge coffee table book, which is just filled with cool Star Wars posters. I think I showed Mason that over the summer. I think that sounds right. And we had the best time looking at those. So there's so much great art. Mary, you are so welcome, my friend. It comes from the bottom of my heart for sure. Education, of course, I'm biased, but it's an important profession. It's a challenging profession, but to me, it's the best. I'm very biased as a teacher, but to me, it's the best profession in the world. But anything that brings you joy and helps you to make an impact, wherever you are, whatever you do, you don't have to be a teacher. You can make a difference. You can make an impact by your attitude, by the way you treat people, and by the way you carry yourself. We got to put more positivity out here for sure. Adam says, you may have been talking about this, but are you buying or selling the Ben Solo series rumors? Well, I think you probably already know this one, Adam, but I didn't even know that was rumor because I'm not following it. It probably sounds like wishful thinking. We're certainly spoiler free on the show, but this is one thing I will say. Unless it comes from Lucasfilm or Disney or like the Hollywood Reporter or Variety, it's probably bogus. So I don't know. And like you said, it's wishful thinking. I certainly think the same thing as well. The only thing I believe is coming out is Kenobi and The Mandalorian Season 2 and the Cassian Andor Disney Plus series. Other than that, I don't know. We've got the Bad Batch, of course, which is going to be great. And that's going to be fun. I think when those come out, maybe we'll review these on Facebook Live every week. That would be really fun to do after we do our top 5s, of course. Okay, anybody else have any questions for me? I'd love to ask them. Again, if you ever can think of anything that you want me to talk about or ask or throw out to the community to see what everybody else thinks, because we've got a wonderful group of people here each and every week. Just be sure to let me know, and we'll be sure to make that happen. I mean, it's my pleasure. It's also my pleasure, by the way, and I've never plugged this on Facebook Live, but danzymedia.com. Some of you may not be aware of this. I know Adam is. But this is your chance to take your first step into a larger world. If you want to build your brand, if you want to start a blog, if you want to start a podcast, or you really have something going and you want to expand your reach, go to danzymedia.com and let me find a way to help you take that first step into a larger world. Because it's fun. I like working with people. I like seeing their inspiration and their ideas. And great things happen because of it, for sure. Really great things happen because of it. So be sure to check that out again. Of course, you've got the Star Wars book, as I mentioned. I talk about it every week, but I'm very excited I'm very proud of it. A lot went into the creation of the Star Wars book, and it's my dream my entire life to write a Star Wars book. So as we get closer to that, I'm certainly going to talk about it a lot and answer your questions about the book. You're definitely going to have a lot of questions. Okay, I think that is going to do it for this week's CWK Live every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. It is my great pleasure to spend the conversation with you talking about Star Wars and talking about your weeks. Answering the questions you have for sure about Star Wars, and just gives a place for you to share your thoughts, how you feel, and your comments and opinions matter. Adam says, I can vouch for great things happening with Dan Z Media. So worth it. Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. It was great to work with you. So proud of what you guys were accomplishing from a certain point of view pod. So great. Kato says, thanks, Dan. Always good to hear from you. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Christopher, it is my absolute pleasure, my friend. You know what? Next week, bring a friend. We have a consistent group. Minta, may the force be with you as well. We have a wonderful, consistent group every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. But bring a friend next week. There's plenty of room here at the Coffee with Kenobi Cantina or whatever cafe or whatever we're naming it this week. So bring a friend next week to Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook Live. I would love to chat with each and every one of you. And this, again, is going to be your top 5 favorite Star Wars soundtracks. It's going to be hard. It's pretty broad. I usually, as a teacher of research, I tell people to be more specific in their focus of the category. I know Tom would back that up as well, being the great librarian that he is. But just something to think about. Be sure to join me next week. Adam, have a great week too. Colby, pleasure to chat with you. Everybody, may the force be with you. Keep smiling, bringing that positivity into the world of Star Wars. Come visit us at CWK Cafe, our Facebook group, if you want to share the conversation there. Be sure to be on the lookout for Coffee with Kenobi's newest podcast this week. We're going to have a conversation about Star Wars Celebration and a bunch of other things. Yeah, and you're going to get to hear Blake. That's right, LJ, you're going to get to hear Blake. So Coffee with Kenobi, anywhere you can find podcasts for sure. If you're considering it, be sure to become a member of the CWK Alliance, our Patreon page. An exclusive weekly podcast there. Lots of other great stuff. It's a great way to support Coffee with Kenobi. It is so much fun. So, have a good week and weekend. Remember, this is the podcast that you're looking for.